I want to talk about the rum demon, and that's sort of serious. And when I grew up in Orangeburg, my grandmother, Big Lorleen, she was a devout Southern Baptist, and y'all know that she didn't allow alcohol into the house because Baptists don't drink, at least not when people can see. But let's go beyond that. And so I was walking my grandfather's house one day, and by the way, y'all, this is the Livingston House right there on Green Street, 367 Green Street, which is the City Recreation Department. And that was my grandfather's house. I'm Charles Livingston McCain, and I really spent a lot of time growing up there. But my grandmother, Big Lorleen, very opposed to alcohol. So I walk in the house one day, the big house, and there's beer in the refrigerator. Beer? That's alcohol, I think. I mean, I was 10. And so I asked my mother, I said, why is there beer in the refrigerator? And she thought a minute and she said, your grandfather's doctor told him to drink beer for his heart. Now, I'm 54 years old, y'all, and I've had more experience with doctors than I would like to even talk about. I had never heard a doctor say that. But that's how people explain things when I was younger. They would just make something up. And my mother was very good at that. So my grandmother didn't allow any alcohol in the house except for grandfather's beer, which he needed for his heart. Then the houseman ordered a case of cooking sherry every month, and we didn't really use that in cooking because I don't think we had any. It wasn't that fancy food that you would put cooking sherry in it. I don't think. You certainly wouldn't use a case of it every month, but that was okay because no alcohol was allowed in my grandmother's house. So the cooking sherry was just for cooking, we think. And then, y'all, one of my relatives who lived there, and I don't want to be too specific because you probably know why, she would call the liquor store. And I don't know if they do this now, but y'all, in those days, liquor stores, they delivered. Is that good? I mean, if you wanted to get loaded, you didn't even have to go to the store and get a bottle of liquor. They'd bring it over. So if nobody was around, she would call the liquor store and they'd bring over a bottle of liquor and she would drink most of it. And then she would grow disputatious. And I would ask my mother, well, what's wrong with Aunt so-and-so? And my mother would say, she's not feeling well. I guess not. And so even though there was this strict rule that there could be no alcohol in my grandmother's house, everybody was drinking except my grandmother. So what my grandmother would do is that she would come to our house, and then she and my mother and my cousin usually would decide to have a glass of sherry. And they would first debate for about an hour whether having a glass of sherry in the afternoon meant they were alcoholics or not. So my mother was a Presbyterian. And so they would debate this at great length. And then upon deciding that since they had had a glass of sherry 6 months ago, that it was okay if they had one now, it didn't mean they were alcoholics, they would have a glass of sherry. And you know, my mother had these beautiful sherry glasses and things like that, but she kept those packed up. I don't know why. So those little glasses that used to get at the grocery store, the little green ones, if y'all remember, that you put orange juice in, they put the sherry in that. And then they would sit there very self-consciously and they take little tiny sips. And I walked in once and my grandmother, she practically poured the sherry on the floor. And my mother said, "Mother, he's 13. But my grandmother didn't want me to know that she drank. But let me tell you, she not only drank, she'd lock herself in the bathroom at the big house, and she'd smoke too.